The shocking betrayal. The message that shattered everything. Welcome to Heartfire Obsession. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Elena Martinez stared at her phone, her hands trembling so violently she nearly dropped it. The video playing on the screen made her stomach turn. Her fiancé, David Chun, wasn't just kissing another woman. He was proposing to her, on one knee, with a ring that looked exactly like the one Elena wore on her own finger. The text message that accompanied the video read, "Thought you should know your perfect fiancé has another perfect fiancé. Meet Sophie Turner, his other love. Someone who cares." Elena's breath caught in her throat. The coffee shop around her blurred into meaningless shapes and sounds. She had been sitting here for 30 minutes, waiting for David to meet her for lunch, excited to finalize their wedding plans. Their ceremony was scheduled for 3 months from now. A beautiful autumn wedding she had been planning for over a year. Now, as she watched the timestamp on the video, recorded just 2 days ago while David claimed he was on a business trip to Seattle, her entire world collapsed like a house of cards. The perfect life that was a perfect lie. Elena forced herself to breathe, to think, to process what she was seeing. David Chun. Her David. The man who had pursued her relentlessly for 2 years before she finally agreed to date him. The man who brought her coffee every morning, who remembered every important date, who made her laugh when she was stressed about her architectural projects. The man who, apparently, was living a double life. She scrolled back through her messages with David, looking for signs she had missed. The late-night work calls he took in another room. The weekend trips that always seemed to come up at the last minute. The way he kept his phone face down on tables. The password he had recently changed on his laptop, claiming it was for security reasons. How could she have been so blind? Elena's mind raced backward through the past year. She had met David at a tech conference where he was presenting on artificial intelligence applications. He was charming, intelligent, successful, a senior software engineer at a major tech company. He had swept her off her feet with romantic gestures and thoughtful surprises. But now she wondered, was everything a lie? Every kiss, every promise, every whispered, "I love you," in the dark. Had any of it been real? Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. "There's more you need to know. Check his cloud storage. Password is your birthday backwards. You deserve the truth." The discovery that changed everything. Elena's hands shook as she opened her laptop right there in the coffee shop. She typed in David's email and the password, her birthday backwards, just as the message said. It worked. What she found in his cloud storage made her previous discovery look like a minor betrayal. Hundreds of photos, documents, videos. David with Sophie, the blonde woman from the proposal video. But also David with another woman, a redhead named Jessica. And another, an Asian woman named Michelle. 3 women. 3 completely separate relationships. 3 different versions of David Chun, each carefully crafted to suit each woman's preferences. Elena clicked on a folder labeled Planning. Inside were detailed spreadsheets. One tracked his schedule with each woman, color-coded. Blue for Elena, pink for Sophie, green for Jessica, yellow for Michelle. He had systematically planned his entire life to avoid overlap, creating elaborate alibis and excuses. Another spreadsheet tracked expenses. David had been financing 4 separate lives, including engagement rings for each of them. The amount of money he had spent was staggering, far more than his salary should have allowed. Elena opened another folder labeled Insurance. Her blood ran cold as she read through the documents. David had taken out life insurance policies on all 4 women, naming himself as the beneficiary. $2 million each. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just about being a playboy or a commitment phobe. This was something far more sinister. The terrifying pattern. Elena's architectural training had taught her to see patterns, to notice details that others missed. Now, as she dug deeper into David's files, she saw a pattern that made her blood run cold. There was a 5th folder, labeled Archive. Inside were photos and documents about another woman, Catherine Walsh. The folder was dated from 2 years ago. Elena clicked on a news article saved in the folder. Her heart stopped. Local woman dies in tragic hiking accident. Catherine Walsh, 29, fell from a cliff during a solo hike. Her fiancé, David Chun, is devastated by the loss. The article was from exactly 2 years ago, right around the time David had started pursuing Elena. Elena's mind raced. Catherine had died, and David had been her fiancé, and there had been a life insurance policy. She scrolled through more documents. Catherine's policy had paid out $1.8 million. The death had been ruled an accident. But now, looking at the pattern, 4 new fiancés, for new policies, elaborate planning, separate lives, Elena saw something else entirely. David wasn't a cheater. He was a predator. A calculated, methodical predator who was setting up his next kill. And Elena was one of 4 potential victims. The man she thought she knew. Elena heard the coffee shop door chime. She looked up and saw David walking in, his charming smile in place, his expensive suit perfectly tailored, his dark hair styled just right. He spotted her and waved. That familiar warmth in his eyes that had once made her feel safe and loved. Now, all she felt was terror. "Sorry I'm late, babe," David said as he slid into the chair across from her. He leaned in to kiss her, but Elena turned her head slightly, so his lips caught her cheek instead. If he noticed, he didn't show it. Traffic was insane. You'd think on a Tuesday afternoon. "David," Elena interrupted, her voice surprisingly steady. "I need to ask you something." He tilted his head, concern crossing his features. "Of course. What's wrong? You look pale. Who is Sophie Turner?" The change in his expression was instantaneous but quickly masked. For just a fraction of a second, Elena saw something flicker in his eyes. Calculation, assessment, danger. Then his confused, concerned face was back in place. "Sophie Turner? I don't think I know anyone by that name." "What? Really?" Elena turned her phone around, showing him the proposal video. "Because you seem pretty familiar with her here." David's face went blank. He stared at the video for a long moment, and Elena watched a dozen micro-expressions cross his features. Shock, anger, fear, and finally, something cold and empty that made her shiver. When he looked up at her, his eyes were different. The warmth was gone. What remained was something calculating and dangerous. "Where did you get that?" His voice was low, controlled, but there was an edge to it Elena had never heard before. "Does it matter? Is it true? Do you have another fiancé? Or should I say, 3 other fiancés?" David sat back in his chair, his expression unreadable. Elena could see his mind working, calculating his next move. The silence stretched between them, thick with tension and unspoken threats. "Elena," he finally said, his voice taking on a soothing quality that now sounded manipulative and false. "This is a misunderstanding. I can explain." "Don't." Elena's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare lie to me anymore. I've seen everything, David. The spreadsheets, the schedules, the insurance policies. I know about Jessica and Michelle. I know about Catherine Walsh." At Catherine's name, David's entire demeanor changed. The mask dropped completely. What Elena saw underneath made her blood freeze. His eyes went flat and cold, his jaw tightened, and when he smiled, it wasn't friendly, it was predatory. "You've been busy," he said softly. "That was very foolish, Elena. Very foolish indeed." The threat that made it real. Elena had prepared for this moment. Her laptop was recording everything. Her phone was connected to her best friend Maya's phone via a livestream app, hidden in her purse. And she had sent all of David's files to her own secure cloud storage. But none of that preparation stopped the ice-cold fear that ran through her veins when she saw the real David Chen emerge. "Are you threatening me?" Elena asked, keeping her voice loud enough for the recording to catch clearly. David leaned forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "I'm not threatening you. I'm simply stating a fact. You've discovered information that could cause me significant problems. Catherine's death was ruled an accident. But if someone were to start asking questions now, with all this evidence, it could become complicated. You killed her." Elena's voice shook despite her best efforts to control it. "You killed Catherine Walsh for the insurance money. And now you're planning to kill 4 more women. That's why the policies. That's why the separate lives. You're going to stage for more accidents." David's smile widened. "You always were the smartest of my fiancés. That brilliant architectural mind, always seeing patterns and structures. I suppose that's why I chose you. Well, that and the fact that you have no close family nearby, no overprotective siblings or parents who might ask too many questions. Perfect victim profile, really." Elena felt bile rise in her throat. Every reason he had loved her, every quality he had praised, had been part of his selection criteria for murder. You won't get away with this, Elena said, her hand moving subtly toward her purse. I've already sent all the evidence to someone safe. If anything happens to me. To who? David interrupted, his voice casual but his eyes alert. Maya? Your best friend? The one who lives alone in that ground floor apartment on Maple Street. The one who goes jogging every morning at 6 a.m. in the park. The threat was clear. Maya was in danger too. Or perhaps you sent it to your colleague, James? The one you work late with sometimes? He seems like the trustworthy type. It would be a shame if he had an accident on his motorcycle. Those things are so dangerous. Elena's heart pounded. David had been watching her life, learning about everyone she cared about, preparing for this possibility. He had contingency plans. He always had contingency plans. The escape that became a chase. I have to go, Elena said, standing up abruptly. I have a meeting. David stood too, his hand shooting out to grab her wrist. His grip was tight, just short of painful. Sit down, Elena. We're not finished talking. Let go of me. Elena raised her voice, causing other customers in the coffee shop to look over. She had counted on witnesses, on public safety. Let go of me now, or I'll scream. David's eyes narrowed, but he released her wrist. This conversation isn't over. You and I both know you can't go to the police. Not yet. You don't have enough proof that would stand up in court. Catherine's death was thoroughly investigated and closed. All you have are insurance policies and spreadsheets, which prove I'm a cheater, not a murderer. He was right, and they both knew it. Elena had evidence of infidelity, of elaborate deception, but proving murder? That would be nearly impossible without Catherine's body being exhumed and re-examined. Without new investigations. Without. But I'll make you a deal, David continued, his voice taking on that soothing quality again. Come with me now. We'll go back to my place, talk this through. Maybe we can come to an arrangement. I have money, Elena. Lots of money from Catherine's policy that I haven't spent. I could share it with you. You could disappear, start a new life somewhere far away. Wouldn't that be better than trying to fight me? Elena stared at him in disbelief. He was offering her a bribe. He thought she would take money to keep quiet about his murder plans. Go to hell, Elena said clearly. She turned and walked toward the coffee shop exit, every instinct screaming at her to run. Behind her, she heard David's chair scrape against the floor. She pushed through the door and onto the busy street, immediately pulling out her phone. She dialed 911. I need to report a threat to my life. My name is Elena Martinez, and I have evidence that my fiancé is planning to murder me and 3 other women. A hand clamped over her mouth from behind. An arm wrapped around her waist. Elena struggled, trying to scream, but David's hand muffled her voice. Dropped your phone, David whispered in her ear, his voice terrifyingly calm. Clumsy. Now, we're going to walk to my car very calmly. If you struggle, I'll tell everyone you're having a mental health crisis, and I'm taking you to the hospital. If you try to signal someone, I'll hurt them. Not if you understand. Elena's mind raced. She was in public, on a busy street, in broad daylight. But David's threat was real. He would hurt innocent people. He had already killed once, and was planning to kill 4 more times. What was one more body to him? She nodded slightly. Good girl, David said. And Elena hated how those words that had once sounded affectionate now sounded like a pet owner praising an obedient dog. The woman who refused to be a victim. But Elena hadn't survived years of working in male-dominated construction sites by being passive. She hadn't built her career from nothing by giving up when things got hard. And she certainly wasn't going to let David Chun turn her into his next victim. As David guided her toward the parking lot, Elena noticed a woman across the street watching them intently. The woman was young, blonde, and looked familiar from one of the photos in David's cloud storage. Sophie Turner, the other fiancée. Their eyes met across the street. Elena saw recognition flash in Sophie's eyes, recognition and horror. Sophie had seen the same video, received the same message. She knew. Elena made a split-second decision. She went completely limp, becoming dead weight in David's arms. He stumbled, his grip loosening for just a moment. Elena drove her elbow back into his ribs with all her strength, then stomped down hard on his foot. David's grunt of pain and his loosened grip gave her the opening she needed. She broke free and ran, not toward her car, but toward Sophie. Help me, Elena screamed at the top of her lungs. He's trying to kill me. Sophie, run. Sophie's eyes widened in understanding. Instead of running away, she ran toward Elena, pulling out her phone. Behind them, Elena heard David shouting, heard his footsteps pounding on the pavement. Elena and Sophie met in the middle of the street, causing cars to honk and swerve. Elena grabbed Sophie's arm. He killed his last fiancée. He's planning to kill all of us. Do you have the evidence I sent? What evidence? I just got a video today. Sophie started, confused. No time. We have to warn Jessica and Michelle. We have to go to the police together. A car screeched to a halt beside them. David was in the driver's seat, his window rolled down, his face a mask of controlled fury. Get in the car. Both of you. Now. Call 911. Elena screamed at the stopped traffic around them. This man is trying to kidnap us. Several drivers pulled out their phones. David saw this, and his expression changed. Calculation again, weighing risks. He couldn't abduct two women in front of dozens of witnesses with police being called. He smiled at them, cold, promising retribution. This isn't over, Elena. You have no idea what you've started. Then he drove away, leaving them standing in the middle of the street, surrounded by concerned strangers and approaching sirens. Elena turned to Sophie, seeing her own terror and confusion reflected in the other woman's eyes. We need to warn the others, Elena said urgently. Jessica and Michelle. He's going to know we're coming for him now. He's going to accelerate his plans. We have to get to them first. Sophie nodded, her face pale but determined. I know where Michelle lives. She works at my company. That's how David met me. He's been playing us all against each other. As police cars pulled up and officers rushed toward them, Elena felt a cold certainty settle in her chest. David Chun had made one critical mistake in his perfect plans. He had chosen women who were strong, intelligent, and capable. Women who would fight back. Women who would protect each other. David wanted to hunt them. But they were about to teach him what happened when the prey became predators. The war between Elena and David had only just begun, and Elena was determined to make sure she wasn't the only one who survived it. Heartbreak and revenge. The alliance of the hunted. The police station was fluorescent bright and cold, smelling of burnt coffee and institutional cleaning products. Elena sat in an interview room, Sophie beside her, as Detective Sarah Morrison listened to their story with an expression that shifted from skeptical to deeply concerned. Let me make sure I understand, Detective Morrison said, her pen hovering over her notepad. David Chun is engaged to 4 women simultaneously, has taken out life insurance policies on all of you, and you believe he murdered his previous fiancée, Catherine Walsh, 2 years ago? Yes, Elena said firmly. She pushed her laptop across the table. It's all here. The spreadsheets tracking our schedules. The insurance policies. The archive folder about Catherine with news articles about her death. He admitted to me. Well, he implied very strongly that her death wasn't an accident. Sophie nodded vigorously. And he tried to kidnap both of us on the street. There were witnesses. The drivers who called 911 can confirm it. Detective Morrison's expression remained neutral, but Elena saw something flicker in her eyes. Belief. Maybe, or at least the possibility of it. Catherine Walsh's death was investigated thoroughly. The medical examiner ruled it an accidental fall. There was no evidence of foul play. Because he's smart, Elena said urgently. He plans everything perfectly. That's why he keeps such detailed records. Because he needs to track for separate lives without making mistakes. But that's also his weakness. His need for control means he documents everything. The detective was quiet for a long moment, clicking through the files on Elena's laptop. Finally, she looked up. This is concerning. Very concerning. But here's the problem. Most of what you've shown me proves infidelity and financial impropriety with the insurance policies, not murder. Catherine Walsh's case is closed. To reopen it, I would need concrete evidence of foul play. What about attempting to kidnap us? Sophie demanded. He tried to force Elena into his car, which is definitely a crime, and I'm taking that seriously. We've issued a warrant for his arrest on attempted kidnapping charges, but that's separate from a murder charge related to Catherine Walsh. Detective Morrison leaned forward. However, I believe you're in danger. Both of you. And if there are 2 other women involved, they're in danger too. Jessica Park and Michelle Nakamura, Elena said. I have their contact information from David's files. We need to warn them immediately. We're already on it, Detective Morrison said. I've sent officers to both their addresses. But you two need to go somewhere safe. Somewhere David doesn't know about. Do you have friends or family out of state? Elena thought of her parents in Arizona, but David knew about them. He knew about Maya. He knew about everyone in her life because she had shared everything with him, trusting him, loving him. God, she had been such a fool. I have a cousin in Portland, Sophie offered hesitantly. David doesn't know about her. We could go there. Good. I want both of you out of the city by tonight. Detective Morrison handed Elena her card. Call me every day with an update on your location. I'll keep you informed about the investigation. And ladies, she looked at both of them seriously. Do not try to investigate this on your own. Do not try to contact David. Let us handle this professionally. But as Elena and Sophie left the police station an hour later, Elena had no intention of sitting quietly in Portland while David remained free. She had other plans. The meeting of the marked. Jessica Park lived in a modern apartment building in the Tech District. When Elena and Sophie arrived, having ignored Detective Morrison's instructions to leave the city immediately, they found 2 police cars parked outside and officers stationed at the entrance. We're friends of Jessica's. Elena lied smoothly to the officer. We heard there was an emergency. Is she okay? The officer consulted his notes. Are you Elena Martinez and Sophie Turner? They exchanged surprised glances. Yes, Elena confirmed. She's been asking for you. Top floor, apartment 12B. Detective Morrison called ahead. Jessica's apartment was sleek and minimalist, all clean lines and neutral colors. The woman who opened the door was petite and elegant, with jet black hair cut in a sharp bob. Her eyes were red from crying, but her jaw was set with determination. You're Elena, she said immediately, looking at Elena with recognition. I've seen your photo in his apartment. The architect. He talked about you sometimes, said you were his Tuesday and Wednesday girl. Her voice was bitter. I was Thursday and Friday. Weekends he split between all of us with creative excuses. Sophie made a choked sound. I was Monday and Tuesday. He told me Wednesdays through Fridays were his intensive work schedule. We need to find Michelle, Elena said urgently. Did the police reach her? Jessica shook her head. She's on a business trip. Tokyo. She's not answering her phone, and her phone's international settings might be making it hard to reach her. The police are trying to contact her through her company, but David knows she's in Tokyo, Elena finished grimly. He knows exactly where she is because he probably helped her plan the trip, gave her recommendations, made sure her schedule was set. Jessica's face went pale. You think he's going to? I think if David feels cornered, he's going to accelerate his plans. Michelle is isolated, in a foreign country, vulnerable. She's the perfect target. Elena pulled out her phone. What company does she work for? Nexus Technologies. She's a senior marketing director. Elena's architectural firm had connections with Nexus Technologies. They had collaborated on a building project last year. She scrolled through her contacts and found the number for Nexus's emergency line. Within 15 minutes, she had Michelle's hotel information in Tokyo and her emergency contact number. But when she called, the phone rang and rang with no answer. We need to go there, Sophie said suddenly. To Tokyo. We need to warn her in person. That's crazy, Jessica said. That's a 14-hour flight. By the time we get there, we might save her life, Elena interrupted. The police can't just fly to Tokyo on suspicion. They have jurisdiction issues, international complications. But we're private citizens. We can buy plane tickets right now and be there by tomorrow morning, Tokyo time. Jessica looked at Sophie, then back at Elena. Something passed between the 3 women, an understanding, a shared determination born from shared betrayal and shared danger. I'm in, Jessica said. Me too, Sophie agreed. Elena nodded. Then let's move. Every minute we waste is a minute David could be planning his next move. The race against time. The flight to Tokyo was turbulent, both literally and emotionally. Elena sat between Sophie and Jessica in economy class. They had bought last-minute tickets and taken what they could get. Around them, passengers slept or watched movies, oblivious to the desperate mission unfolding in seats 32D, E, and F. Tell me about Catherine Walsh, Jessica said quietly after several hours of silence. Tell me about the woman he killed. Elena pulled out her phone, which she had loaded with all the information from David's files before the police had taken her laptop as evidence. She showed them Catherine's photos, a beautiful brunette with a bright smile, a woman who looked happy and in love. She was a teacher, Elena said softly. Elementary school, 29 years old. Engaged to David for 8 months when she died. The news articles said she went hiking alone in the mountains and fell from a cliff. They found her body 3 days later. David was devastated, played the grieving fiancé perfectly. But you think he pushed her? Sophie said. I think he hiked with her, and somewhere along that trail, where there were no witnesses, he pushed her off a cliff. Then he came back alone, waited an appropriate amount of time, and reported her missing. The $1.8 million insurance payout came through 6 months later. Jessica wiped tears from her eyes. We're all so stupid. We all fell for the same lies, the same charm, the same act. We're not stupid, Elena said firmly. David is a psychopath. He's good at what he does. He studies his victims, learns exactly what they want to hear, becomes exactly what they need. That's not our failure. That's his evil. Sophie leaned her head against the window. I keep thinking about all the red flags I missed. The way he never wanted me to post our photos on social media. The way he always paid cash for things when we were together, never credit cards that might leave a trail. The way he had separate phones, one for work and one for personal. I thought he was just private. I thought it was cute that he was old-fashioned about some things. He told me he was allergic to cats, Jessica said suddenly. I had to give away my cat, Mr. Whiskers, because David said he couldn't be around him. I love that cat. I'd had him for 6 years. Now I realize he just didn't want anything in my apartment that might mark him as a visitor, no cat hair on his clothes that his other fiancés might notice. The 3 women sat in silence, each processing their own betrayals, their own lost relationships that had never been real. When this is over, Elena said finally, when we've stopped him and saved Michelle and gotten justice for Catherine, I'm going to make sure every woman in America knows his face. I'm going to make sure David Chin never gets the chance to hurt anyone else. Agreed, Jessica and Sophie said in unison. The woman in danger. They landed in Tokyo at 7 a.m. local time, exhausted and jet-lagged, but running on pure adrenaline. Elena had messaged Michelle's emergency contact number a dozen times during the flight, but there had been no response. The hotel, a luxury high-rise in Shibuya, was sleek and modern. The concierge spoke perfect English and confirmed that yes, Michelle Nakamura was a guest, but no, they couldn't give out her room number or disturb her without her permission. It's an emergency, Elena insisted. A life-threatening emergency. We're her friends from America. I understand, but hotel policy. Elena. They spun around to see a tall, elegant woman with long black hair standing in the hotel lobby, holding a coffee cup and staring at them in shock. She wore a business suit and looked exhausted but professional. Michelle? Elena asked, relief flooding through her. What are you doing in Tokyo? How did you? Michelle's eyes moved from Elena to Sophie to Jessica, and Elena saw the exact moment when Michelle understood. The color drained from her face. Oh my God, you're all here. You're all David's other fiancés, Sophie finished quietly. Yes. Michelle sat down abruptly on a lobby chair, her coffee cup shaking in her hand. I got a strange video 2 days ago. David proposing to someone else. I thought it was a prank. I called him, and he said it was his cousin's proposal video, that someone was trying to cause trouble between us. He was so convincing, so hurt that I would doubt him. I apologized to him. Her laugh was bitter. I apologized for doubting his lies. Elena sat down next to her. Michelle, we came here to warn you. David isn't just a cheater. He's dangerous. He killed his last fiancée. We think he's planning to kill all of us for the insurance money. Michelle's face went even paler. The insurance policy. He said it was just a responsible financial planning thing, that all successful couples should protect each other. Did he recently suggest any trips or activities that might be dangerous? Elena interrupted. Hiking, mountain climbing, water sports? Michelle's hand flew to her mouth. Tomorrow. He arranged a private boat tour for me tomorrow, on Tokyo Bay. He said it was a surprise, a reward for all my hard work on this business trip. A private charter, just me and a captain. He sent me all the details via email yesterday. Her eyes widened with terror. He's here. David is here in Tokyo. He must be the captain. He's planning to. Cancel it. Jessica said urgently. Right now? Cancel everything. Michelle was already pulling out her phone, but her hands shook so badly she dropped it. Sophie picked it up and helped her navigate to her email. They found the booking confirmation for the boat tour. The company is called Rising Sun Charters, Michelle read. But when I try to call the number, it's not connecting. And look, she pointed at the company website link. The website doesn't exist anymore. Or maybe it never existed. David created a fake company, Elena realized. He probably created the entire booking confirmation. The boat tour was never real. He was planning to meet you himself, take you out on the water, and she didn't need to finish. They all understood. We need to call Detective Morrison, Sophie said. This proves premeditation. This proves he was actively planning to kill Michelle. But when Elena tried calling the detective, the call wouldn't connect. International calling issues. She sent multiple urgent emails instead, explaining the situation. We can't just wait for the American police to coordinate with Japanese authorities, Jessica said. That could take days. We need to go to the Tokyo police directly. The trap they didn't see. They went to the Shibuya police station, but explaining their situation through language barriers and cultural differences proved difficult. The officers were polite but skeptical. A story about an American man planning to murder his 4 fiancées sounded far-fetched, especially when the evidence was spreadsheets and a fake boat booking. By the time they left the police station 3 hours later, Elena felt defeated. Yes, the Japanese police had taken their statement and promised to investigate, but she could see the skepticism in their eyes. As they walked back toward Michelle's hotel, Elena's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You really thought you could run to Tokyo and be safe? You really thought I wouldn't know? Meet me at the Shibuya Sky observation deck at sunset. All 4 of you. Or I start taking what's mine another way. I know where your parents live, Elena. I know about Sophie's little sister in college. I know about Jessica's grandmother in the nursing home. I know about Michelle's brother who just got out of rehab. Come alone, or they all suffer. David. Elena's blood ran cold. She showed the message to the others. He's threatening our families, Michelle whispered. He knows everything about all of us. It's a trap, Jessica said. Obviously it's a trap. We can't go. But if we don't, he'll hurt innocent people, Sophie argued. My sister is only 19. She's at college in Boston. If David goes after her, we call the police again, Elena said. We show them this message. This is a direct threat. But even as she said it, she knew it wouldn't matter. The Tokyo police couldn't protect their families in America. The American police couldn't get to Tokyo in time. They were isolated, vulnerable, and David knew it. He's cornering us, Michelle said quietly, making us choose between our own safety and the safety of everyone we love. That's what predators do. They isolate their prey. Elena looked at the 3 women beside her, strangers 3 days ago, sisters in survival now. They were all terrified. They were all exhausted. But they were all still alive, still fighting. We go, Elena decided. But not helpless. Not as prey. We go prepared, and we take him down. How? Jessica asked. He's bigger, stronger, probably armed. But we're smarter, Elena interrupted. And there are 4 of us. And he doesn't know that we've already warned the police, already documented everything. He thinks he still has control. That's his weakness. Sophie pulled out her phone. I'll start a live stream. The moment we meet him, everything will be recorded and broadcast to the cloud. Even if he takes our phones, the evidence will exist. Michelle nodded slowly. I have pepper spray. It's legal to carry in Japan if it's under a certain size. I bought it for the trip. I have a personal alarm, Jessica added. One of those really loud ones. If things go bad, I'll set it off. The observation deck is public. People will come running. Elena felt a plan forming. It wasn't perfect. It was dangerous and probably stupid. But it might be their only chance to end this nightmare. Tonight at sunset, she said, we face David Chun. Together. And we make sure that no matter what happens, he never hurts anyone else again. The 4 women stood in the middle of Shibuya, the busiest intersection in the world, surrounded by thousands of people, feeling utterly alone and utterly determined. David wanted a confrontation. He wanted to control them, to terrorize them, to prove his power. But he had made one critical mistake. He had united his victims. And united, they were about to teach him the true meaning of revenge. The ultimate payback. The confrontation in the sky. Shibuya Sky observation continue 13:47 deck, sat 229 meters above Tokyo. offering panoramic views of the sprawling metropolis below. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Elena, Sophie, Jessica, and Michelle stepped off the elevator onto the open-air deck. The wind whipped around them, carrying the sounds of the city far below. Tourists clustered around the edges, taking photos and selfies, their laughter and excitement a strange contrast to the tension coiling in Elena's chest. "Do you see him?" Michelle whispered, her hand gripping the pepper spray in her pocket. "Not yet," Elena replied, scanning the deck. Her phone was in her hand, Detective Morrison's number already dialed and ready to call. Sophie's live stream was active, hidden in her purse, but recording everything. Then she saw him. David stood at the far edge of the observation deck, leaning casually against the railing as if he didn't have a care in the world. He wore an expensive black jacket and dark jeans, his hair perfectly styled as always. When he saw them approaching, he smiled, that charming smile that had once made Elena's heart skip a beat. Now it just made her want to scream. "Ladies," David said pleasantly as they approached, as if this were a casual social gathering. "All four of my beautiful fiancés, together at last. I have to say, this isn't quite how I imagined introducing you to each other." "Cut the charm, David," Elena said coldly. "We know what you are. We know what you did to Catherine Walsh. We know what you were planning to do to us." David's smile didn't falter, but something shifted in his eyes, that predatory calculation Elena had seen in the coffee shop. "Catherine's death was a tragedy. I loved her very much." "You murdered her," Michelle said, her voice shaking with suppressed rage. "For money. For a life insurance payout. And you were planning to murder all of us the same way." "That's a serious accusation," David said, his tone light but his eyes watchful. "Do you have proof? Because last I checked, Catherine's death was ruled an accident by the proper authorities." "We have your files," Jessica spoke up. "Your spreadsheets. Your planning documents. The insurance policies on all of us." David laughed, and the sound made Elena's skin crawl. "Insurance policies? Spreadsheets? That proves I'm organized and financially responsible. It doesn't prove murder." He was right, and they all knew it. Without Catherine's body being exhumed and re-examined, without concrete physical evidence, everything they had was circumstantial. "Why did you call us here, David?" Sophie asked. "What do you want?" David's expression turned serious. "I wanted to offer you all a choice. A way out of this mess that works for everyone. The devil's bargain." David pushed away from the railing and moved closer, though he kept careful distance from all four women. Elena noticed his eyes constantly tracking their positions, assessing threats, calculating angles. "Here's the situation," David said, his voice taking on a businesslike tone. "You've discovered my extracurricular activities. You've compiled evidence of infidelity and some questionable financial decisions. You could make my life very difficult. Messy divorce proceedings, damage to my reputation, possibly even criminal investigations that, while unlikely to result in convictions, would certainly be time-consuming and expensive." "You forgot attempted kidnapping," Elena interjected. "There were witnesses to that." "A misunderstanding that can be explained away," David waved dismissively. "My fiancée was having a mental health crisis. I was trying to help her. Very sad, very common these days." The casual way he planned to gaslight her, to twist her trauma into a narrative of her being unstable, made Elena's blood boil. "But here's what I'm offering," David continued. "Catherine's life insurance policy paid out $1.8 million. I still have most of it. I'm willing to split it between the four of you. That's $450,000 each. More than enough to disappear, start over somewhere new, build the lives you've always wanted. Tax-free money, immediate wire transfer, no strings attached." "Except silence," Michelle said. "You want us to take blood money and keep quiet about murder." "I want us all to move forward," David corrected. "You get financial security. I get to continue my life without complications. Everyone wins." "Except Catherine," Elena said quietly. "Catherine Walsh doesn't win. She's dead, murdered by you." David's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the cold emptiness beneath. "Catherine was a mistake. She wanted to change our prenup agreement. Started asking questions about my finances. Became a liability. I learned from that experience. With all of you, I was smarter. No prenups. Kept things more flexible. The casual admission of murder, spoken as if he were discussing a business error, made Elena feel physically sick. "We're recording this," Sophie said suddenly, pulling her phone from her purse and showing the active live stream. "Everything you just said. Thousands of people are watching right now. You admitted to murder." For the first time, Elena saw real fear flash across David's face. Then, just as quickly, it was replaced by rage. "You stupid bitch," he snarled, lunging for Sophie's phone. The fight for survival. What happened next occurred in a blur of motion and chaos. David grabbed for Sophie's phone, but Jessica stepped between them, deploying her personal alarm. The piercing shriek cut through the observation deck, causing tourists to turn and stare. Michelle pulled out her pepper spray, but David knocked it from her hand with a brutal backhand that sent Michelle sprawling. Elena rushed forward, using her body to shield Sophie, who was frantically trying to keep the phone out of David's reach. His hand closed around Elena's throat, squeezing. "I should have killed you first," David hissed in her face. "You were always the dangerous one. Too smart, too observant, too fucking stubborn to just accept what I was offering." Elena couldn't breathe. Black spots danced in her vision. But through the haze, she saw Jessica picking up the fallen pepper spray. Saw Sophie backing away, the phone still streaming, still recording. Saw Michelle getting to her feet, blood dripping from her split lip. Saw security guards running toward them from across the deck. With the last of her strength, Elena drove her knee up into David's groin. His grip on her throat loosened, and she sucked in a desperate breath. "Help!" Sophie screamed at the approaching security guards. "He's trying to kill us. He murdered his last fiancée." The security guards reached them just as David released Elena completely, raising his hands in a gesture of innocence and confusion. "Officers, thank God you're here," David said, his voice perfectly calm and concerned. "My fiancée is having a psychotic episode. She attacked me with pepper spray. These other women are helping her with some kind of delusion. We have it all on video," Jessica interrupted, showing her phone. "The live stream. He admitted to murdering Catherine Walsh. He tried to strangle Elena. We have witnesses. Everyone on this deck saw it." The security guards looked confused, caught between David's calm authority and the four disheveled, terrified women. But then one of them looked at his own phone, his eyes widening. "Sir," he said in heavily accented English, "you are viral. Many people watching. Police are coming." David's face went through a rapid series of expressions: disbelief, rage, calculation. Elena saw the exact moment he made his decision. He ran. Not toward the elevator. That would be blocked by security. Instead, he ran toward the edge of the observation deck, toward the highest point of the railing. "David, no." Elena screamed, understanding his intention even before he acted on it. The edge of madness. David climbed onto the railing with the agility of someone who had planned this escape route. The observation deck was designed with safety in mind, but the railings weren't impossible to climb for someone desperate enough. And David Chun was very desperate. "Don't come any closer," he shouted, his voice carrying across the deck. Tourists screamed and backed away. The security guards froze, hands outstretched, but not daring to approach. "Any of you try to stop me, and I jump. You'll have my death on your conscience." "You think we care?" Michelle called out, her voice raw. "You were planning to murder all of us. Why should we care if you jump?" "Because you're good people," David said, and his smile was bitter and knowing. "That's why I chose you. Each of you is caring, empathetic, believing the best in others. You rescue stray animals and volunteer at soup kitchens and give money to homeless people. You're good. That's your weakness. And that's why I knew you'd never let me jump, even knowing what I've done." Elena felt the truth of his words like a knife. He was right. Even after everything, the lies, the betrayal, the attempted murder, she didn't want to watch him die. "Come down, David," Sophie said, her voice surprisingly gentle. "Come down and face what you've done. Take responsibility. Catherine's family deserves justice. We deserve justice." "Justice?" David laughed, and the sound was unhinged, all his careful control finally cracking. "There's no justice. Catherine wanted to leave me. She was going to expose me. I'd been embezzling from my company even back then. She was going to ruin everything I'd built. I couldn't let that happen. So you killed her," Elena said, inching closer but keeping her movements subtle, non-threatening. You took her hiking and pushed her off a cliff. I made it look like an accident, David said, and there was sick pride in his voice now, the pride of someone who finally gets to brag about their perfect crime. I studied the trail for weeks, found the perfect spot, made sure there were no cameras, no witnesses, even scraped my hands and clothes to make it look like I tried to save her. The police never suspected a thing. But you couldn't stop, Jessica said, also moving incrementally closer. You got away with it once, so you decided to do it again. For more times. Why not? David's voice rose hysterically. I'm smarter than everyone else. I plan better, execute better, adapt better. I could have pulled it off. I would have pulled it off if you hadn't, he glared at Elena. If you hadn't been so goddamn nosy. Police officers burst onto the observation deck, Japanese and American law enforcement together. Detective Morrison was with them, her face grim but determined. David Chun, she called out, her voice amplified by a megaphone. Come down from there. There's nowhere to run. The building is surrounded. I know, David said calmly, his hysteria evaporating as quickly as it had appeared. That's why I'm not running. He looked at the four women below him, his expression unreadable. You want to know the funny thing? I actually did love you. All of you. In my own way. You were perfect, exactly what I needed. Smart enough to be interesting, successful enough to have good insurance policies, isolated enough to be vulnerable. Perfect. That's not love, Elena said, tears running down her face. That's hunting. Maybe, David agreed. Or maybe they're the same thing. Maybe love is just finding the prey that makes your heart race. He shifted his weight, and Elena saw his intention a split second before he acted.